Son, I got to do better than this.
Lights out.
Sacking the cornerback is just like you devastate a city, or you cream a multitude of people. I mean, it's just like you put all the offensive players in one bag, and I just take a baseball bat and beat on the bag. So each time he came over there, I tried to tear his damn head off. Let's play some football. Let's play some football.
The pressure is on. This is Off the Edge on Tide 100.9.
Focus on what you want to do, what you want to accomplish. Think about that. Don't think about how you feel, how tired you are, how hot it is. You got to push yourself on the field when you're playing football.
It's my honor to present the National Championship Trophy to Coach Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide.
To me, this is the ultimate team. All these guys bought into everything they needed to do to be the best players that they could be. There's more togetherness on this team than almost any team that we've ever had. And they had to overcome and persevere so much adversity through this season, and they've done it magnificently. And I'm so proud of this group for what they've been able to accomplish and going undefeated and winning the national championship.
Streaming live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and the Tide 100.9 app. Here is your host of Off the Edge, Jacob Harrison.
Your man overthrown. Spit out the ball.
Hello there. Good morning. Welcome in to Off the Edge, Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. It's a difficult day, but it is a good day to talk some Crimson Tide football. Streaming live on the Tide 100.9 app, available on Apple and Android devices. Also streaming live on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube at Off the Edge 109. You can join the show in the chat box there, whichever stream that you are joining us on. We appreciate that. Like, share, subscribe, all those great things. It's Monday, so it's just analysis. Your phone calls at 205-342-9904. And also, I do want to tell you real quick about Alabama Vintage at Alabama VTG on the Instagram account. You can find them online at alabamavtg.com for the online store. And if you pair those two together, the Instagram and the online store, you can work your way into getting 15% off just simply by finding the codes that go with the brand ambassadors, the student athletes who have signed NIL deals to be brand ambassadors of Alabama Vintage. And boy, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. So it won't take that long for you to find the one that can help you save just a little bit of money on already well-priced products there at Alabama Vintage, whether you need that commemorative t-shirt to hate on Mississippi State this week, or maybe even to hate on Texas A&M after the difficult loss 41-38 from the Aggies there at Kyle Field, or you just want something to reminisce the good old times from the bygone eras that may have been with, Paul Bryant, with Gene Stallings, the early days of the Nick Saban era. All of that lives within 2210 University Boulevard under the Crimson awning across from City Hall in the heart of downtown T-Town. Plenty to get into, and we'll certainly get into it. But as we usually do on a Monday after the game, we'll start with Nick Saban's Open and get his assessment of what happened. Here's Nick Saban following the 41-38 loss to the Texas A&M Aggies.
I know the players are very disappointed, but I think that everybody needs to remember how they feel and not forget it. Because when I talk about having respect for winning, that's what I mean. You want to avoid the feeling that you have when you lose. So a lot of lessons to be learned out there tonight. Got to give Texas A&M a lot of credit for how they played. They had a good plan. The players did a good job of executing it. We certainly moved the ball well enough on offense, yardage-wise, but they stopped us in the red zone. We turned the ball over on the 2-yard line with an opportunity to score. We actually went ahead in the game at the end of the game, couldn't get the stops on defense we needed to, and had the ball with 3 minutes to go in the game. Could have gone 2 minutes, went down the field, and had a chance to kick a field goal, win it ourselves. And then, we didn't stop them. So they made the plays that they needed to make to win the game. We didn't make the plays we needed to make to win the game. And, hopefully we'll learn a lot from this. And, we still can accomplish everything we want to accomplish in terms of, but we got to do things better than we did tonight. We got to play better. We got to be more consistent. We got to finish drives. We got to get more turnovers on defense. We got to get more stops on defense. There's a lot of things we need to fix.
And first of all, Nick Saban has the extremely valid point. Alabama still controls its own destiny. Alabama is still first in the West. They'll be fine, right? They'll move on. They'll be able to take the opportunities that will be before them to reach the ultimate goals, which are winning the SEC championship, getting into the college football playoff, and vying for a chance to win a national championship. Absolutely spot on there. But when you kind of take a step back and you say, well, we didn't make the plays that we needed to make to win. And remember the feeling of losing. Well, a lot of fans, when they internalize the feeling of losing, they want to point fingers and they want to single out whose fault it was. So we've got portions of the fan base that are pointing at Bill O'Brien for not running the football within the red zone after Brian Robinson got him there. Understandable. You'll have portions of the fan base that are criticizing Bryce Young for the interception and for how poorly he played on the final drive to try to extend the lead and knock the Aggies out of it. Understandable. Another portion that will be upset with the wide receivers and the tight ends for all the numerous drops throughout the ballgame. And you can read all about that, tide109.com. Understandable. Then there are those on defense pointing at Pete Golding for the way the defense performed in the first half. Understandable. Pointing at the pass rush, the absolute lack of pass rush. I don't think Zach Calzada really took more than just the one hit that knocked him out of the game. Will Anderson, 0 sacks. Fedarian Mathis, 0 sacks. Dallas Turner, Byron Young, Tim Smith, DJ Dale, you name them. 0 sacks. Understandable. Maybe some will put the blame solely on DeMarco Helms for the pass interference on Jalen Watermeyer in an obvious situation. Less understandable, but understandable. The game did come down to that one last play to get the Aggies, that is, into field goal range. But this is what Nick Saban has been talking about all season. And it's not just that little smirk that he gave at halftime. Like I told you, it's not me hearkening back to the Florida game when I said that Alabama was vulnerable, as did many. It's not that. It's not even necessarily about being right. It's Nick Saban talked about playing intent, sustaining consistency and performance, sustaining intensity for 60 minutes. And that's what Alabama did not do. First play of the game. Defense can't even get lined up, right? Stuff happens, right? But it's the first play of the game. You've had the call for a minute, right? It's the first drive of the game is so important because both are just going out and executing the basics of their game plan. Both the offense and the defense. They're just executing the basics of their game plan to get a feel. And if you're the defense, to be extremely disruptive. And if you're the offense, to simply just drive the field, right? Very rarely on offense are you looking for massive chunk plays to put points on the board. You're trying to drive and feel out the defense and see what's going to work, see what their game plan was so that you can adjust on the ensuing drives. And the defense does the same. They look at the offense. This is what they're trying to do. They're not going to deviate from this too much in the first half. This is how we stop it, right? But on the very first play of the game, you can't get lined up. I don't know whose fault it was. Byron Young was the one that was standing up. So it's easy to point the finger at him. I don't know if it was his fault, but you've got 5 guys on the line of scrimmage and they're not lined up correctly. Isaiah Spiller takes it like 12 yards for a first down. Easy first down. So we're already at a disadvantage as far as defending the elite playmakers for the Texas A&M Aggies. A couple plays later, Malachi Moore gets ejected for a dumb targeting call. Absolutely was targeting. There was another play in the game on Jaleel Billingsley where the defender did practically the same thing. He was not called for targeting, so I understand the frustrations of those that hate the penalty. But you lose Malachi Moore for the entire game. And then the excuses start rolling in, right? Then Jalen Watermeyer starts to do his thing. Anaya Smith starts to get rolling. Isaiah Spiller is just running it right up the gut, to the point of pure frustration and nausea. And then the excuses start rolling in. Oh, well, we're injured. We're really missing Malachi Moore right now. We're really missing Drew Sanders right now. No, because Brian Branch is just as good as Malachi Moore. You're splitting hairs between those two players. A lot of folks are going to say, well, he gave up both those yards to Anaya Smith. Anaya Smith's one of the best receivers in the country. It's going to happen. It was a mismatch problem. A young player against an elite veteran, and things happened, right? You've got to be able to play well in spite of those things most times. Same thing with Jalen Watermeyer. He had his way with Alabama too. You kind of just have to take some of that in stride because of the way the game is built today. And I know that's not what anybody wants to hear, least of all me to have to say it as a defensive-minded person, but it's the reality of the situation. So the first things Alabama does is give those wacky things to Texas A&M that every team that beats every team that beats Alabama needs to win. Those weird, unpredictable things that have to go the opposition's way. So they went. Then you're in a space where, oh, they're for real. They're really trying to win this game, which is not a space you want to be in. That is not at all a space that you want to be in. So when you're sitting in it, you're like, how do we fix these things? And the first half was really, really a struggle. And, Alabama's down by 14 at the half, and Zach Calzada's, none of his passes have hit the ground. He was like 13 of 14 at that point with the one interception to DeMarco Helms. And Alabama wasn't doing particularly anything well. They had their first drive. This is something that was a little concerning to me. Their first drive for Alabama used a lot of motion, and I really liked it. And it was capped off by a motion bringing Jamison Williams from the left side of the formation to the right. And at the snap, you can see a lot of Aggies with their eyes just glued on Jamison Williams because he's so dangerous, but because of the motion. So the motion allows Bryce Young in that split moment to recognize what the defense is in and push them all away from the play, get the ball out to Roydell Williams, and it's a touchdown. Easy touchdown at that. And as the game went along, those motions started to go away. So the game plan shifts at some point. Even though the first drive went perfectly for Alabama, just as it did for Texas A&M, and Alabama wasn't given as much as A&M was on its first drive, you still moved away from things that worked. So again, understandable why folks wanted to point fingers at Bill O'Brien. And then they look later in the game when Brian Robinson is like a man possessed running through that Aggie defense, gets the Crimson Tide inside the 10, and then he gets 0 touches. I'll say this on that drive. Nobody's complaining about Brian Robinson's lack of touches there if Bryce Young throws a touchdown pass. I've seen people say, oh, I would. Well, you just like to complain. You're never satisfied, and that's what's wrong with a lot of this fan base. It's just never satisfied. And get so spoiled with the idea of winning that we forget what it's like to lose. And Nick Saban tells you, Paul Bryant tells you that it's okay to lose because it puts perspective on you. And Alabama in the Nick Saban era, despite how dominant Alabama has been, 2 times have they gone undefeated as the national champs. And I mean, I'm not going to sit here and look, but you can think that LSU and Clemson going undefeated and winning a national championship, like none of that it's not necessarily normal. And it's a bigger problem within college football to expect a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds to be absolutely perfect for 16 straight weeks and go undefeated and win a national championship. It's bizarre, right? It's cruel and unusual punishment in a way. But still, you can't take this loss as if it hurts that much, with the perspective that Alabama's still in control of its own destiny, and Alabama made the adjustments necessary to win the football game. Because everything that I've kind of started off, with in this analysis is, well, Alabama did not play great defense in the first half. Well, in the second half, it was completely different. They forced 3 3-and-outs. Another drive that's 4 plays, 15 yards. All of those result in punts. And then the last 5 minutes of the game don't go the way Alabama needs them to. So the defense made the necessary adjustments. What about the offense? Did the offense make necessary adjustments? Yes, they did. Alabama's last 5 drives, touchdown, field goal, touchdown, punt. Field goals aren't going to win you the game. I know that. That last punt, that last drive, that's not good enough. I know that. Look at a broader picture. Look at it from a broader perspective, and look at the fact that the drives before that were fumble, interception, punt, field goal, punt, punt. Alabama made the necessary adjustments. And one of the biggest adjustments was finally stopping that overload blitz on the left side that was terrorizing Bryce Young. And anybody that can come after Bryce Young needs to first learn how to watch the trenches first. Watch the offensive line first. Watch how Bryce Young has to maneuver a pocket before criticizing anything about his game, because he was lights out. Bryce Young played a fine football game. Made one dumb throw and made a handful of inaccurate throws, and it goes the way it goes because it's football and everything's unpredictable. Alabama made the necessary adjustments. Texas A&M was caught off guard, and it went the way it went. In the post-game show, when we talked with Reagan was still, in a happy mood. Reagan Starner of R&R Cigars was still in a happy mood because of his birthday, and he didn't take the loss so hard. And you're like, oh, well, not being passionate enough. Baloney. Kind of put things in perspective for me to analyze this game. It was a hell of a football game. It had incredible storylines. Zach Calzada on this mic last week, all week, I just said the kid was just flat out bad. I said he was just bad. Not only was I wrong about my score prediction of being 52-24 and wrong about the discipline of the Texas A&M Aggies, I was wrong. But so was everybody else. So I'm feeling pretty all right about it. Zach Calzada goes out, plays the game of his life, and wins the game. And Seth Small kicks the game-winning field goal. And we've all seen the video on social media, how elated his family was. And that's cool. It sucks to lose. But my goodness, you're going to lose 1 or 2. I mean, it's the reality of it. Well, my professional football team is 2-3 today. And I'm just happy they won. I'm just happy they won. I'm just happy Najee Harris ran for 100 yards yesterday. You got to take what you can get. And I know that's not the standard here. But we have to understand that the standard is perfection. And perfection is not realistic. So we hold ourselves to an unrealistic standard. And when we miss that standard, we lose our minds. And that requires some reflective perspective, right? And I think that's why Saban has softened over the years. A lot of fans are like, oh, he's too soft on him now. He's too soft on him now. It's not the same game. It's not the same game. Alabama's still good enough to win a national championship. Pete Golding doesn't need to be fired. Bill O'Brien doesn't need to be fired. Does Brian Robinson need to get the football more? Yes. Have we learned that Jamison Williams is the number one wide receiver on this team and the rest of the wide receivers need to step their stuff up and stop dropping the damn ball? Yes. At the end of the day, because Texas A&M sucked enough to lose to Arkansas and Mississippi State, this game will mean nothing on the grander scheme of things for Alabama as far as its place in the SEC. But it will mean something to these players who don't want to ever feel this pain again. And it's why it's been so effective over the years for most Alabama teams to only lose one game. You take it on the chin and you get up and you keep fighting. And if you lose in the end, at least go out in a blaze of glory. Deontay Wilder. You want a perspective on what it's like to get your ass kicked and still keep fighting? Deontay Wilder got pummeled, but fought with incredible heart and incredible determination. Went in the film room, by the way, and developed a left jab, came with a game plan, put it to work, and it still fell short because sometimes the other guy has your number. Jimbo Fisher, I don't know if he spent the whole offseason and if he spent the whole regular season gearing up for Nick Saban, and maybe that's why they lost to Arkansas and Mississippi State. But by God, he got the one in that he wanted. And nobody can ever take it away from Jimbo Fisher that in May, he said he was going to kick Nick Saban's ass. And then in October, he did it. And he became not only the first former assistant to beat Nick Saban, but the guy that broke a 100-game winning streak against unranked opponents. He dealt 2 blows to Nick Saban in one night. And it hurts. It sucks. But you got to admire it and respect it a little bit, even if you don't want to. Because there's 130 teams in the country. And we just so happen to cheer and root and report and analyze on the best one. And it fell. And that's how it goes sometimes. Because it's football. That's what makes football awesome. Not happy we lost. Not at all. I was pretty bummed that we lost, and I had to find a way to do something I haven't had to do in my short career, and that's learn how to analyze a loss for Alabama. I don't know how to do it. So the adversity keeps coming. You just got to take it and go and figure it out. And that's what we're doing here on Off the Edge today. So your phone calls, 205-342-9904. We'll talk to Jeff in Tennessee first. Big win. Big win for Kentucky, man. I'm glad. I hope that gives them the juice to take on Georgia and do their thing. You heard me say it before I brought you on the air, Jeff. And we'll get to him first on the other side of the break. Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama sports.
This is a metaphor for your business's journey. Sometimes it feels like you're going 100 miles an hour, barely keeping up. But you cruise through challenges, you need someone who's right there with you. That's what Dell Technologies advisors do. They have the tech advice you need to get past whatever's in front of you and get to where you want to go. Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL and do more with modern devices and Windows 10 Pro.
Is your mouth watering yet? We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled to perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby! The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Hit me with the sound effects again. Ladies, gentlemen, if you're feeling the way I'm feeling, we should both go get us a piece of that cheesy, beefy perfection with a delicious, refreshing Pepsi. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Grab a Pepsi and join us for a cool down in the entertainment district at the Gulf Coast's most exciting shopping, dining, and resort destination, the Wharf at Orange Beach. We've got the fun, we're just missing you. Grab a Pepsi and join us for a cool down in the entertainment district. Visit alwharf.com to learn more.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Time for an oil change? We've got what you need to check it off your list. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Valvoline Max Life High Mileage Motor Oil and an STP oil filter, plus an STP air filter or cabin air filter, all for just $35.99. And you can get it all fast, your way. Just order online with our free same-day store pickup or next-day delivery.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Start your job today at AutoZone.com. Restrictions apply.
Refresh your wardrobe for fall with Banana Republic Factory. Everything's 40 to 70% off, including season favorites like soft sweaters, easy jeans, warm outerwear, and more. Find your nearest store or shop online only at Banana Republic Factory.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front row seat to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Be more than a fan. Be a player. Must be 21.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A warm afternoon with a good supply of sunshine. The high today 85. For tonight clear with the low at 66. Unseasonably warm weather continues tomorrow and Wednesday. Partly to mostly sunny both days with highs between 85 and 88. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 79 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Follow Off the Edge on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube for live streams and instant analysis. Off the Edge with Jacob Harrison continues.
We're back here on Off the Edge, Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. Do want to address a comment made on the Facebook stream before we get to Jeff here, because Curtis made it pretty early in the show. Curtis asked about my take on Alabama's defense being the best in the nation. And Curtis says he still thinks it can be pretty close because of the execution issue, or it being an execution issue. You play extremely well against Ole Miss, play like dog crap against A&M in the first half, things kind of go the way they do. Well, I'll tell you this, Curtis. I think when you look in Athens, Georgia, what they're doing, it doesn't matter who they play. They play great defense. In Tuscaloosa, it seems to matter a little bit. And I agree. It's an execution issue. We're calling good plays for the most part. I mean, sometimes you're just going to be out of position. For example, the first touchdown there to Jalen Watermeyer. When I first looked at it, I could tell it was zone, but I couldn't tell it was cover 3 right off the bat. I couldn't tell what the offensive play call was right off the bat because I was just looking at what was Josh Jobe doing. Well, Josh Jobe, fell inside with the inside seam route, and that left Watermeyer wide open. Well, you're in cover 3 against 4 verts. You're going to get screwed either way. You ever play Madden for 5 seconds? You see somebody running cover 3, you audible to 4 verts, and you score touchdowns because it's impossible to defend unless you have Ed Reed back there roaming the middle of the field. But that's Alabama's base defense is cover 3. Nobody's base defense is cover 4. So when you get 4 verts, when you're not expecting it, bad things happen. And it's the nature of the game just being in favor of the offense. If you're in man coverage right there, nothing bad happens, but you weren't. So something bad happened. And you kind of have to take that on the chin and just move on. I still admire the fact that Alabama's defense did what it did in responding in the second half and making necessary adjustments to be able to slow down A&M's running game. A&M didn't run for 100 yards. Now, I know Isaiah Spiller left the game, but A&M did not run for 100 yards. That's a victory, right? That's one in the win column. So take that and continue to improve upon it. And that being said, very critical of the inside linebackers in the first half. Second half, it appeared they did their job a little bit. Now, you only had to defend, 13 plays? If you only have to defend 13 plays, there you go. News just breaking. Alabama versus Tennessee, 6 p.m. kickoff. let's head out to the phone lines and we'll welcome in our guy, Jeff in Tennessee. What's going on, Jeff?
How's it going, guys? Curtis, I don't know what you watching. You must be watching middle school football. Because Alabama, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, in Florida put 91 points up. That's 30 a game. That's not good defense, son. I don't know what you've been watching. That tight end was running wide open down the field. I could have caught that. You learned it. Don't even give me that stuff. Don't even give it to me. And like you said, Fisher told Sadie he's going to kick that ass. He did it, didn't he?
He did.
Kick that ass and beat it. And he beat it. And Drew DeArmond can't take it, I can tell you that. He can't take losses. He can't take it. He's worried about yards. He ain't worried about points. See why we got yards and all this. And he says this weekend Kentucky ain't going to be able to throw it enough against Georgia. They can't win. They can't throw it enough. It don't make no difference. We got the big blue wall. If he's ever heard of it. I doubt Drew DeArmond's ever heard of it. He ain't never heard of it. So we run the ball. When you run like we do against LSU, you don't need to throw the ball. With 300 yards, I don't mention yards much anyway. With 300 yards against LSU, when you run it like that, you don't need to throw the ball. You don't need to. We got Rodriguez, and we had Benny Snell, and we got Trache Smoke. Don't make never mind us. Don't never mind. Will Levis transferred from Penn State. Don't never mind us. We just let him run the wild. And we whipped LSU 42. It should have been 42-7, to be honest with you. The last two score, we don't let them score anyway. Just let them think they's in the ball game. Let them think they's in it. You know, like I say, I was drinking my Coke. I was drinking my Coke Zero Saturday while I was watching Coke Zero of LSU. What I was doing, David. But LSU fans are dumb. They want to fire him, so they can go ahead and fire him if they want to. And it'll be the fourth coach that's won a national championship in this conference that's been fired. Fulmer, Chizzy, Miles, and now Orgeron. So if Auburn, LSU, and Tennessee, if they want to have dumb administration, let them have them. If they want to have dumb ones and fire people with natties, if they want to do that, then let them do it.
You think LSU should keep Ed Orgeron?
Yes, he just went 2 years ago. You don't know. Yes. You know what it'd be like I told some guy, it'd be like if Barnhart went to Calipari at the basketball season and said, okay, Cal, you had a bad year, you're fired. What do you think would have happened if he'd done that?
No, that'd be dumb because Calipari has tenure, first of all, of success.
We ain't worried about I'm not worried about no tenure. I'm saying if he did it.
No,
what do you think would happen?
You reacted before I finished my sentence, Jeff. He has tenure of success. He has been consistently successful throughout his entire career, and Ed Orgeron has not. He had one good year where he not one good year. He had 1 year where he went and won it all. He did have multiple successful years at LSU before then, but since it has fallen off the face of the earth, he has talent, and they're not being coached well. You have a coach who hired assistant coaches without interviewing them. You have a coach that is taking on all of the off the field things that are going on at LSU with their sexual abuse culture, and that matters within the framework of the job. It's his responsibility, and he didn't handle it allegedly. The legal processes that go through that, all of that is creating a culture that cannot win football games. Now, I'm happy Kentucky went down and beat LSU. I really, really am. But it also stems from the fact that LSU has gotten in their own ways. And to me, congrats. You won a natty, but you couldn't sustain the success after it. Because when we talk about what Nick Saban does so well, that's what he does so well. He reloads. And, when we talk about what Stoops is doing so well in Kentucky, he's continuing to load into something very special, right? So with LSU, they're not doing that.
I agree. But the thing about it is, everybody talks about all this recruiting rankings mess and all this other mess, like Drew, the rest of these people.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy up here in Wilco, he always talks about recruiting and all this stuff. But Kentucky, Saturday night, I can't remember how many 4-stars he had. I want to say maybe 10 or 12 or more than that. They had no 5-stars. See, LSU has all these top 5 recruiting classes all the time. The strutting and the cutting and the Louisiana's got great athletes and all this other mess. And they can't beat us. So, it might be Coach Ware, but I'm saying recruiting rankings don't mean nothing.
Right.
Okay? You don't win no natties on recruiting.
I agree.
Okay? I know Drew DeArmond thinks you do, but you don't. How simple was that? Okay, you don't do it. You got to produce on the field. I don't care. It's like a guy told me one time he played basketball in college. He played at Auburn. And he told me one time, he said, when you're in high school and you come to college, he said, everybody's got, and he called it clipping. What he called it, clipping. He called it. He said, everybody was great in high school. They were all state or whatever. But when they needed a basket, you went to them. When they needed a yard or two, you went to them. See, it's college now. This ain't high school no more. You ain't playing with little boys. You're playing with men. This ain't, everybody wants to win recruiting that. Nobody cares about recruiting rankings. I ain't worried about it. Like I said, it's called coaching them up. So we had a first round draft pick last year that took he bypassed his last year. He's a first round draft pick. Jamin Davis playing for Washington right now.
Yep.
Okay? So we coach him up. Just think of what if Stu's had a bunch of 5 stars, what he'd do. Nobody gives him no credit. You kidding? Nobody thinks we're going to go down there and win. Do you understand that?
I agree.
Can you understand that in your deal that nobody thinks we can beat them Georgia Saturday? Nobody does. So if we do, I'm gonna tell you, if we go down there and beat them, of course we'll be first east if we do. But the only 3 games that we got left in the conference, if we beat Georgia Saturday, we'll have Tennessee and Lexington at home. We'll have to go to Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. That's all. And we'll have that all. The SEC game we got left if we beat them. And if we do, like I say, if we do, like I done told the show this morning, if we do become this guy will go. I don't know if you remember the Rocky movies when Creed was sitting next to Balboa. He come next to Balboa and he goes, "Come November, you mind?" He has to show Mondays where there's no guest or anything. And I told him this morning, I said, if you tell you beat Georgia Saturday, I said, come Monday, the guy in Wilco's mine. Because he has said before, Kentucky will never, never, never win the SEC East. They will never do it. They will never go to Atlanta. They will never play for an SEC championship in football. They will never do it. That's what he said. He said in the past. He said it now. He doesn't think Stoops is a good coach at all. He thinks he doesn't think he's done nothing. So he's 55 and 50. He was 12 and 26 his first 3 years. Since then, he's 43 and 24. That's what his record is. And nobody's going to give this man credit. They're not going to do it. Everybody thinks Bob Stoops is better than him, his brother. Okay? That's what it amounts to. I don't know why you can't get it through your head. That you think he's getting all this respect. And Chris Doran said, who's down in Kentucky now? I can find 15 people on the street that doubts Kentucky right now. I can find them in Tennessee and Alabama and Florida and Georgia, every state in this country. Down in Kentucky right now, I can tell you. I can promise you that. So if we go down there and win, I told somebody this morning, if we go down there and win, everybody in this state's going to hear from me. I can tell you that right now. I can tell you. They're going to hear from me, babe. And if we win the East, they won't get out alive. Because I'll keep talking about it until I'll take my last breath, I can tell you. Because if we're BBNs, we're the best. And our volleyball team went down to Foster Auditorium Saturday, whipped up on them Crimson Tide volleyballers. All he had to do was flash that national championship ring for y'all's volleyball coach. She just got scared and said, well, y'all go on, win, beat us. Because we got to get home and watch LSU, Kentucky anyway. We had something else to do. We had to get home and watch our football team whip on some teams. So y'all hang in there. Maybe y'all beat Mississippi State this weekend. Y'all got a 1-game losing streak. We got an 8-game winning streak. What y'all gonna do? See y'all.
There you go, man. I love Jeff. God, I love Jeff. I'm rooting so hard for Kentucky. Not only because I just want to see the underdog get it done, but just so Jeff can just call into the show next Monday and let the world have it, man. God, I love Jeff. He's so good. So good. We'll take a break and we'll take George and Macon next here on Off the Edge, Tide 100.9.
Hey, Bama fans, before you head to the stadium to watch the Tide roll, stop by JD's Market and Spirits for all your tailgating needs for Bama football games. Located only 3 blocks from the stadium, JD's offers over 500 liquor items, 400 wine items, and a huge selection of craft, domestic, and imported beers. JD's also has hot dogs, snacks, ice, and game day supplies. Everything you need for tailgating. JD's Market and Spirits, 400 yards from Bryant-Denny Stadium on the west side. Call 722-2113.
This is a metaphor for your business's journey. Sometimes it feels like you're going 100 miles an hour, barely keeping up. But you cruise through challenges, you need someone who's right there with you. That's what Dell Technologies advisors do. They have the tech advice you need to get past whatever's in front of you and get to where you want to go.
Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL and do more with modern devices and Windows 10 Pro.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Time for an oil change? We've got what you need to check it off your list. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Valvoline Max Life High Mileage Motor Oil and an STP oil filter, plus an STP air filter or cabin air filter, all for just $35.99. And you can get it all fast, your way. Just order online with our free same-day store pickup or next-day delivery.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Start your job today at AutoZone.com. Restrictions apply.
Refresh your wardrobe for fall with Banana Republic Factory. Everything's 40 to 70% off, including season favorites like soft sweaters, easy jeans, warm outerwear, and more. Find your nearest store or shop online only at Banana Republic Factory.
You're listening to Off the Edge on Tide 100.9.
Oh, Megadeth 5 on a Monday morning. Like it. Break it down to Alabama's loss, 41-38 against the Texas A&M Aggies. Taking your phone calls at 205-342-9904. We'll go out now to one of my favorite callers, George in Macon. George, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. How you doing? The sun did rise today, and we are getting through the day, as tough as it may be. But I will have to reiterate a statement that you made. You know, through the Bryant years, Bear Bryant was coach at Alabama, 23 years, and I think he had 3 undefeated seasons if you count the bowl games. I think it was 61, 66, and 78?
Mm-hmm.
I think those are the only 3. So going undefeated is extremely hard. And at the beginning of the season, I said, we're not going to go undefeated. Which team will we lose to? And I thought of 2 teams, and Texas A&M was one of them. Now, what was surprising to me was how horrible that they played up until Saturday night. That was a bit surprising to me. Another thing that was, we do have a young team. And we, we did make adjustments. The offense got better. The defense got better. But their last drive, when we eliminate each other by us running into each other, I think that's youth and not having confidence on what you're doing at that point in time. And also, I don't understand, when we were down there close, you can't trade touchdowns for field goals. You just can't do it. It'll always get you in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
But while we didn't have our big set in that we started when we had Mount Cody, you got a fullback, and then you have, our big guys in there, and we didn't, that why we didn't try that, because it has always worked. I can't remember when it hasn't. And that's the surprising thing to me. And for the guy calling before us, whoever wins national championships, they're in the top 3 or 4 in recruiting. So it does matter.
You do have to coach those players. I think that's where he was kind of coming from, because I think it's impressive what Stoop does with far less talent.
Oh, I do too.
And it's disappointing what Orgeron does with way more talent. I think that was kind of the crux of his argument. And he is fired up too.
Well, if I've been to Nick at Noon a couple of times in the Crimson Caravan, and one thing that Nick Saban says is he can't coach players that aren't good. And those are his exact words. And I'll admit, Orgeron, you know what? He just gets in his own way. He makes stupid statements. He does stupid things, and it always catches up with you, and you trip over yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he did catch lightning in the battle when he had Dave Aranda and Brady as as assistant coaches, and he let them coach. But he's kind of a cartoon of himself, and he isn't getting anything out of what he's got, and I'm hoping he doesn't put it together before we play them. Hopefully they're still on this trending downward. But that's kind of my opinion on it. But I think that our problem is we're a young team, and think back 4 years ago when we made the playoffs and Clemson pretty much beat our brakes out. We had before that season, we had a turnover of coaches, which we have this year, and we have a turnover of players, which we have this year, and we got a lot of youth. Another thing that concerns me is why did it take a half to make adjustments of our blocking scheme?
Yes.
And we didn't get much pressure on their quarterback. Those are the two things that I'm concerned with, and plus all the drop passes.
Yeah, and
this loss was a total team effort.
Yeah, I agree with that last statement very much so. But two things that you've said that I really, really like. First of all, the pressure thing, that's something I was going to get to a little bit later. Inexcusable for this defense to have no pressure on a quarterback who had been playing that poorly up to that point in the season. But secondly, the absolute lack of that I formation that Alabama has run so well all season. Every time they get to the goal in goal to goal situations, all this season, they've been able to run that wildly effectively. Half the time, Oots doesn't even have to block anybody. It works so well, and yet on Saturday we didn't see it a single time, and that was really disappointing. And I know that's what a lot of Alabama fans maybe maybe not necessarily that specific formation with those power O calls, but had Alabama at least run out on the field in what Joe keeps calling black personnel, which is 4 tight ends with the H-back, that I formation has been deadly for Alabama all year, and they didn't use it. And it's pretty flabbergasting is about the best word I can come up for it.
Well, we've all been watching football for Saban's era, and with Mount Cody, with Jesse Williams, nobody has ever stopped that big formation. Nobody. And why we would just forget it at that point in time, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I think when the opposing team sees them coming in, they automatically start thinking about it and start saying their prayers. How am I going to stop it? Because it has never failed.
The only reason I can think of to not run it is because Texas A&M has a great defensive line. They showed it the whole entire game, but that's letting the defense dictate to you. And I don't like. As a defensive-minded person, if it's Alabama's defense dictating, like, I'm perfectly fine with it. But as far as Bill O'Brien letting the personnel of the opposing team dictate to him, I'm not crazy about that. You could have run it at least once. If you'd have scored, it doesn't matter, but you didn't. So now we have to speculate what you should have done. And that's not fair to Bill O'Brien, but it's also not fair to the fan base that has seen you do something in 5 games that you chose not to do in a crucial situation.
I'll make one more point and then I'll let you go because I know other people have got to get this off their system. But from Blake Sims to Tua to every young quarterback we've had on that out pattern to the flats, we've read at least one time we have read the defense wrong and they have intercepted it.
Mm-hmm.
You go back and it has happened every time. Hopefully, and I'm not blaming Bryce at all because he had people in his face all game long and he had drop passes. But every one of our quarterbacks, at least one time at the beginning of the season, in the middle of the season, has read the defense wrong, and they've thrown that pass, and it's gotten, sent back. From, if you remember Auburn, every time, every young quarterback we've had, they've done that, and I just wanted to get your comment on that.
I think you remember the year that Tua went like 8 games into the season without an interception? I think we have
happened.
Right. We have gotten to a point with these quarterbacks where if they're not playing unbelievably perfect, we're not satisfied. And I don't think that's fair. It's the hardest position in sports. And Bryce Young plays so close to that. And we forget so often that he's 6 games into his career. And he's thrown 21 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. The 3 interceptions have all been boneheaded decisions. But you know who else made a boneheaded decision on Sunday? Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. All of them made boneheaded decisions because it's hard. It's hard. And Bryce Young has played out of his mind all year, and he made one dumb decision, and I can't fault him for it.
I can't either.
Exactly.
Hopefully he's learned from it, and he won't do it again. But also, I can't remember. It's been a while since our quarterback has had so much pressure and tackling. I don't know that we've ever had. I can go back to Alabama and Auburn back in the Mike Shula days when they sacked us about 12 times. But can't in the last 4, 5, 6 years, I can't remember our quarterback being sacked 4 times and been hurried, I think 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, the offensive line performance was way less than ideal, and that overload blitz was hard. George, I got to run to break, man. I always appreciate your phone calls, man.
Take care, my friend. See ya.
Absolutely, George and Macon helping us out, man. I love his phone calls. Very intelligent, matches the analysis of the show, and that pressure on Bryce Young, man. Listen, before we head to break, with the quarterbacks at Alabama, we get to a state where we're like, can he be the one to never throw an interception in a season? And like, it's not even feasible. Like when Trey Lance did it at the FCS level, it was a fluke. Everybody looks at the stats. It was a fluke. You know how many dropped interceptions Trey Lance had? If he'd have been at the FBS level, he'd have thrown like 8 interceptions in that season, but he still would have looked great enough to be the 3rd overall pick in the 2021 NFL draft because he's that good. You're gonna throw picks. And they're gonna be exactly when you don't want them because you never want them. You're never gonna be. Oh, I can understand that one. Never. Again, going back to my Steelers, I mean, the team I'm a fan of has the quarterback that's thrown more interceptions over the past 20 years than anybody else in the league, and there's a guy that's been in the league longer than him. It's frustrating. I know it is, but it's the nature of the sport. The other team is allowed to try too. And Texas A&M really, really tried. We'll take a break, come back, close it down. I'll answer your question here in just a second, Kyle, on YouTube. And we'll try to squeeze in Super Joe as well here on Off the Edge. Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama sports.
This is a metaphor for your business's journey. Sometimes it feels like you're going 100 miles an hour, barely keeping up. But you cruise through challenges, you need someone who's right there with you. That's what Dell Technologies advisors do. They have the tech advice you need to get past whatever's in front of you and get to where you want to go.
Call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL and do more with modern devices and Windows 10 Pro.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Time for an oil change? We've got what you need to check it off your list. Right now, you can get 5 quarts of Valvoline Max Life High Mileage Motor Oil and an STP oil filter, plus an STP air filter or cabin air filter, all for just $35.99. And you can get it all fast, your way. Just order online with our free same-day store pickup or next-day delivery.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Start your job today at AutoZone.com. Restrictions apply.
Refresh your wardrobe for fall with Banana Republic Factory. Everything's 40 to 70% off, including season favorites like soft sweaters, easy jeans, warm outerwear, and more. Find your nearest store or shop online only at Banana Republic Factory.
Don't miss a play at the Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Your front row seat to all the action. Place bets on all professional and most college sports at the counter, kiosk, or on your phone. Then catch the game on one of our 20 big screens from the comfort of the newly remodeled Timeout Lounge. Plus, the PRR Sports app gives you access to live, in-play sports betting. Sportsbook at Pearl River Resort. Be more than a fan. Be a player. Must be 21.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A warm afternoon with a good supply of sunshine. The high today 85. For tonight clear with the low at 66. Unseasonably warm weather continues tomorrow and Wednesday. Partly to mostly sunny both days with highs between 85 and 88. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 79 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to Off the Edge on Tide 100.9.
Back to close it down here on Off the Edge. Tide 100.9, your home for Alabama sports. And Kyle Banks, he asked the question there on YouTube. Can we change the defensive coordinator? First of all, no, because we're halfway into the season. We're 6 games in. But secondly, I don't think he's doing that bad of a job. Do I think he can do better? Absolutely. You tell me who better defense coordinator that is available, at the end of the season, and I'll tell you whether or not I think that guy could do a better job. That's the situation that we're kind of waiting on in that space. But I don't think that Pete Golding is doing such a horrendous job that we can't, just go as he goes. Remember, 3 years ago, this guy was at UTSA, and he has grown incredibly over those years. And we can't lose sight of the fact that how he outperformed Lane Kiffin last week. So sometimes you're gonna get it, sometimes you're not. So last night he didn't get it, at least not for the first half. The pressure, didn't like that. So we'll continue to see how things improve for Alabama. We'll get to hear from Will Anderson today. Hopefully we'll get an insight as to why the pressure was the way that it was, because what it was not good enough. And it played a big part in Texas A&M being able to win the football game. Appreciate everybody hanging out on the streams today. Sorry, Super Joe, we were not able to get to your call. We just ran out of time. Big thanks to the callers as well. And Joe, had a great day despite the loss. We'll get back at it tomorrow for Off the Edge at 11 a.m. The Jay Barker Show is up next, followed by Ryan Fowler and Crimson Tide Rewind after that at 6 p.m. I'm Jacob Harrison. Thanks for listening to Off the Edge. Roll Tide, everybody. Have a good Monday.